New technical regulations in Formula 1 mean new innovations, but teams will find themselves under scrutiny faster than ever in 2022. F1's governing body, the FIA, will monitor car designs under the new rules to close loopholes, clamp down on unforeseen designs that undermine the aerodynamic objectives of the 2022 regulations, and stop the cars getting too fast. These are the three broad areas where F1 teams and their cars will be watched like a hawk, so let's get into them. Firstly, there's the possibility of unexpected interpretations of the wording of the regulations being used to create the opportunity to do something that was supposed to be excluded. This is essentially an effort to block something like the double diffuser design that was key to the Brawn GP fairy tale in 2009. The FIA has seen more of the 2022 cars and team development plans than anybody because in addition to the launches and testing, there are individual checks taking place to track the legalities and try to avoid any nasty surprises at the first races. Nicholas Tombassis, the FIA's technical head, said recently that these checks have uncovered some unexpected innovations from teams, but nothing that has triggered massive alarm bells, and there's no sign of a double diffuser equivalent. While F1 is optimistic teams won't unexpectedly deploy design ideas that exploit loopholes in the regulations, a relatively new governance system makes it possible to take swift action. As established under the current Concord Agreement signed in 2020, F1's governance allows for in-season changes of the rules without the unanimity that was required under the old system. Now, should the FIA and F1 want to make a tweak, it will require only 8 out of 10 in team voting to push through an immediate change. The rulemakers also believe the threat of this is a deterrent to teams that will increase the chances of such ideas being discussed with the FIA in advance, whereas in the past, a team could slip something through, knowing it could only be stopped by unanimity. Ross Brawn, whose eponymous team was among 3 to find the double diffuser loophole at the start of 2009 that gave them a crucial head start, is now F1's managing director of motorsport. He admits that it's possible the powers that be have overlooked something that the teams will spot and the rulemakers find problematic, but he describes the new governance system as an added layer of protection against that. Brawn said, "It has not just changed to be able to change the rules short notice, the governance has changed because teams know you can do that. They're far more likely to want to be comfortable with their ideas or concepts. It's a circular thing. If you know that 8 teams, the FIA and F1 could stop you doing something if they feel it's wrong, then you're a bit more circumspect in doing it, knowing it could be an issue." In addition to making immediate changes, the FIA still has scope under the regulations to make new systems or technologies illegal the year after they are introduced. This rule is Article 1.5 of the technical regulations and is less to do with the aerodynamic design but intended for broader ideas and technologies that are legal. It allows teams to benefit from such systems for a season before they're outlawed, and this approach was used to ban the Mercedes DAS system after 2020. Before we go any further, what do you make of this attitude? Are F1's rulemakers right to be ultra protective of F1's new era and try to prevent any unforeseen consequences squandering its potential? Or is this far too strict and a war on the type of innovation and progress that F1 should encourage? Have your say in the comments, and if you wouldn't mind, please leave us with a thumbs up if you enjoy this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. The new rules were conceived to increase the raceability of the cars by reducing turbulence that prevents cars following each other and therefore increase overtaking. This is achieved by attempting to simplify, control and redirect the turbulent airflow structures. So the second concern is there could either be unintended consequences of the regulations that only become apparent as the new cars develop, or that teams have found ways to unlock performance that directly compromises a car's wake characteristics. F1 and the FIA have therefore pledged to react to anything that undermines the aerodynamic objectives of the regulations. This is being monitored by the FIA's technical team now that pre-season testing has begun, but it's also part of an ongoing process. The FIA and F1 collaborated in the framing of the regulations that were originally planned to be introduced in 2021 before being put back a year thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. They have gradually refined the rules based on team feedback and multiple development iterations of their own simulations to increase their robustness. Teams and the FIA have been in regular contact about the rules and any potentially contentious design ideas. There have been rigorous checks of every aspect of the car design to ensure not just the letter of the law but the intentions of the regulations are respected. The governance system comes into play again here, as F1 and the FIA can better control the technical direction taken by teams than in the past and protect the intention of the new rules. A good example is flexible bodywork that passes load testing but gives an advantage on track, which was a controversial topic last year. For this issue, all aspects of the cars will be closely monitored. Should something that was not predicted arise, new tests will be imposed immediately to reduce any nasty or problematic effects. The FIA has admitted it is inevitable that with new regulations some consequences will arise that haven't been predicted, and in such cases the rule makers have pledged a quick response and instant fixes. Where bodywork flexibility is concerned, it will be a challenge to work out where to draw the line, but Brawn reckons, as was the case last year during the bitter Mercedes-Red Bull rivalry, that the teams will help out by grassing each other up. He said with all the analysis that's possible you can pretty quickly pick up on what the teams are doing. The teams are really on top of each other with this aspect. They're all almost self-policing each other. The moment there's an issue, they start to raise their flags. The FIA will very quickly know about any areas of concern and can deal with it and have the capacity to deal with it very quickly overnight. The final area of restriction that seems likely isn't really about problematic designs that the rule makers don't expect, but the overall speed of the new cars. Back at the initial presentation of this new technical rule set in late 2019, the FIA simulations from its initial research into the new concept suggested the cars would be around 3.5 seconds slower than the designs of the time. But if you watch this recent video we made, you'll know that the new cars have ended up a good chunk faster than that already. In fact, they're almost as fast as their predecessors, and it probably won't be long before they're even faster, and potentially the fastest ever. The performance of the 2022 cars is already close to what the teams expected them to be by the end of the season. We've mentioned this before, but it's worth stressing that this isn't necessarily a problem itself. Tom Bassis said, "There's never been any clear objective to have a very specific time target. We wanted to be close to where the previous cars were, but honestly, if they had been 4 seconds faster, 4 seconds slower, I don't think we would have really been bothered that much. We don't think that is so important for the show. The more important thing is the cars managed to race closer to each other and hopefully have smaller performance differentials between them." But F1 and the FIA will be alert to the cars getting too fast from here, and they are poised to find ways to cut back performance. Brawn has said we should expect what he called some trimming of the lap time to keep it in a certain region, as these new rules develop. We've seen this in the past with things like the front wing simplification in 2019 or the controversial rear floor changes in 2021, which cut downforce and slowed the cars down. The motivation for policing the speed of the 2022 cars is a sort of safety logistical hybrid. Brawn said you've got to be careful they are not too fast because the safety standards of circuits then need to be modified, and we don't want circuits having to change things all the time. We'll keep it within a margin, a boundary, and I'm pretty comfortable that's where we'll be. We'll see what the development rate is and decide if that needs adjusting in the future. So the bottom line is the idea that these cars would get slower was simply a predicted consequence of cutting downforce and restricting areas of development. As long as that speed doesn't mess with the aerodynamic objectives and make the cars horribly difficult to follow again, the FIA will not care. But it all feeds into a detailed new policing philosophy that will keep the teams on their toes through 2022 and beyond.